Call the meeting to order.
All rise.
Please rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They church a lot for me.
He killed it all.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Say amen.
Yeah, just
Wow. We're a little punchy
Stop
today.
or I would have fallen.
Alright, this is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. Any citizen may address the council regarding items included on the meeting agenda and are asked to complete and hand in a speaker card to the clerk. Presenters shall approach the podium, state your name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks should be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. City of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary, and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Kaler.
Here.
Colterman.
Here.
Streisand.
Here.
Tanya.
Here.
Singleton.
Here.
Morgan. Here. Miller.
Here.
Francisco.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Alright, thank you. First 6 items make up this evening's consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Under administrative items, consideration of claim presented by Daniel Pearson for personal property damage at 912 and 926 Main Street in the amount of $5,250. Greg.
This was a claim that came in right at the end of the day on Friday. We took a look at it. I believe this is in front of the Seward appliance repair over there on
Yeah.
9th and Main.
Yeah, and then the
Um,
house, and then the house area, right?
Well,
It's a little further. Is it the empty lot?
yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so we took a look at it. It didn't have a date of damage, but we assume it was back when that water main was replaced. That was, if you remember how far ago that was, I think that was that summer when we had all the water mains go. There was a repair over there that I think was associated with that, that's in there and it's fine, but it's just a small spot. The rest of it, we used the magic of Google to go back and look at it, and it looked for the last 10 years to be in the state it was in currently, so. We think you should just forward it on to our city attorney and insurance carrier for disposition.
Sounds great.
Any questions or comments?
I move that we forward it on to our city attorney for further investigation.
Alright, we have a motion to
Oh,
address
and
the
insurance.
city-
And insurance, sorry.
That's probably the more
I knew it
important
started
one.
with an I.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, item number 2, consideration of a design agreement with the Shimmer Associates Incorporated for prelim and final design services for the East Hillcrest Drive reconstruction project in the amount of $171,066.75. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you so much. This here continues our work with Summer Associates for a lot of our infrastructure projects, and specifically streets and associated water and sewer and storm sewer that fall alongside the right-of-way within streets. This particular design project, it has been in our capital improvements program to complete the design this fiscal year. So it's from Columbia to East Ridge. We have a current project from East Ridge to the bridge farther east that should be bidding in a couple of months. This will be the next project in the phase as we complete from Highway 6th Street all the way to the Plum Creek Bridge. And so this is the second of probably 4 different segments that will be in design. The main object in this stretch is to widen as much as possible Hillcrest in that area. This is the area where along Concordia University that there's parking on the south side of the street. and it's quite narrow right now, so it's 30 feet back of curb to back of curb. Projection that we will widen that street by 3 feet. I think 4 feet might be a little difficult. Design will tell us. We don't know also how much of the intersection of Columbia and Hillcrest will be reconstructed. Preliminary design will inform us as how much of that intersection should be deferred to the next phase or be constructed in this phase. So this includes starting with survey, geotechnical borings to get some information on the soils, supporting the road, preliminary design, and then final design. It does include some public information meetings, so I think with the university, with the parking, the impact to the residents just to the north, the public meetings are probably warranted, just to get public input before we go into final design. It does include, at the very end, permitting and bid services. And so this should result in a final bid set sometime in October of this year. And so we would hopefully bid that out yet this year sometime for construction next year. And so also the state's bridge project, Plum Creek Bridge at Hillcrest Bluff Road, that should be letting, entirely a state project like a highway, letting in August. That should start up potentially April of next year. It may be finished in 2026, so this would be a concurrent project. And so there's some benefit that the bridge would be out at the same time this potentially would be under construction. So the amount of the proposed contract agreement with Seward for 1,134 hours is $171,066.75. So I ask approval for the mayor to sign all relevant documents for this agreement.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments?
I just don't, Mike, this is a budgeted item too.
It is a
And-
budgeted item, it was in our CIP. We had budgeted $185,000.
Yep.
So this came in at 171. We probably can't get all the design work for this contract inside of this fiscal year, but we generally speaking, move the money into the next fiscal year
Yep,
for the.
it's in the street fund,
Yes.
which is its own fund.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scott O'Taylor, Tanya Goldman Miller, Singleton Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Item 3, consideration of an ordinance to amend the electric superintendent pay rate and to create a group exercise instructor position. Greg?
Well, since the group exercise instructor position's in the packet first, Joel, if you wanna come up and talk about that one.
No offense, but I was honestly looking forward to not having to be in front of you for a while. But since this is important to get through now. So as we're, the goal is to add group exercise classes next week on Tuesday. Our equipment, the delayed equipment was confirmed, the installer will be in Monday, so we'll have that equipped. We've been looking around for a while on what is the right rate, what is the right thing to do with group instructors? Is it how to approach them? And so we first started with people that we know, Lindsay Schultz and Jana Hughes, that teach at the Fallbrook Y, to get their feedback. Got feedback on what they do, checked in with other Ys, Beatrice, Hastings, Holdridge as well, and it all fell in line that we are at the average. There's a couple that maybe offer a little bit more for specialized classes, but that offer $15 an hour, and these group instructors are part-time staff members of these facilities, not contracted out for this. That is what we would plan to do here. They would be part-time employees of the city, and it'd be $15 an hour, and it was standard for them to at least get a single adult membership in that as well. Some places gave a little bit more, some maybe had a slightly less hourly rate and just went minimum wage, but we thought this was a fair way to start. It was both confirmed by Lindsay and Jana that they felt that this was a fair way at least to get started and get going, and then we see how successful we are and what the needs are in the what the market will prove, and then we go from there. And so that's what I would suggest with the creation of this group exercise instructor. I ask for approval of that and take any questions.
The other thing I'd note is also that any of the certifications, qualifications and things like that, those are all handled by the instructor, so if they wanna get trained up on the latest crazes in yoga or any of the other disciplines that they're teaching, that's their responsibility. We're not paying for any of those things, it's strictly, you're a qualified person, keep up your qualifications, and we'll use you as a part-time employee, and this is what we'll pay in the benefit, so.
I have been turned down by a couple people that do things privately that just didn't make sense for them. And so this, I would like to be at this at least to start out with.
Any other questions or comments, Joel?
So this is monthly, right? Or do they come up with how long their sessions are gonna be? Like if it's a 3-month class, 4-month class, 6-month class?
This
that
would
sort of thing?
be, part of the expectation to get the free membership would also be that they're teaching at least twice a week.
Mhm.
And so yes, the membership would be monthly. And then it'd be $15 per hour of their, with them, the teaching, possibly a little setup. Our classes are gonna be planned to be about 45 minutes long, and so it would be about an hour of time per class when you consider getting there, getting things set up, tear down, things like that. That answer your question well enough?
Well, it's just like, if they have a dance class, it's not gonna be 12 months or anything like that, or is it just gonna be based on certain levels of participation or interest?
Yes, it will be based on participation. If something is successful, we'll continue it, add more of those classes, or shift to something different. A lot of the instructors I've talked to are capable of doing multiple types of classes, and so we hope to offer a range of, but yes, it could be for, continuing this on, for a year if they want to, or we find a different instructor, they wanna step away and do something else. It could just be, we get through the summer and be like, this one isn't quite working, we need to shift to different. So it'll be, another way of saying it will be constantly analyzing what's going on with it.
Yes, Rich?
Is there any, you anticipate any record keeping or anything like that, any clerical work, as the class progresses? Who attended, numbers, those kind of things?
Yeah, we'll keep track of, for sure, how many are there.
Okay.
And then, we definitely wanna know that, to see if we need to add another class at a different time frame, things like that. That's all been part of the discussion with everybody that we've talked to.
Thanks, Joel.
It probably would make sense at some point, whether it's a fiscal year or a calendar year, to have some kind of a summation of metrics, whether it's
Yeah.
memberships or just how often it's being used. I'm sure we can accommodate that as well. Any other questions or comments for Joel? Yes, with that, thank you, Joel. Greg, did you want the other one?
Yeah, I'll do the other one. So these are kind of combined because we do one ordinance in regards to the pay line. So you see obviously the group exercise instructor listed at $15 an hour. The other one that's listed in there is the electrical superintendent. We noted back when we made some significant increases to the electric department, we moved up the management, or not the one of the managers, but also the line crew chief, which is kind of the mid-management element of the department. At that time, probably because it was Larry wasn't making huge arguments about shifting his up to be spatially correct from the other positions. And so as we get ready to fill the electric superintendent position, we noted that with the current scale, that it will actually be a pay decrease due to some of the longevity and hours and things like that. And so what we show you here is approximately a 3% increase in just the top end. We also already have one of the higher, if not highest paid superintendents. And we did look at our comparability, but again, we're trying to make sure that we recruit and have the highest level crew. I would argue that you saw their performance firsthand during the blizzard a few weeks back. All hands on deck out there, whether you're the line crew chief or anybody else, you're climbing the poles, you're doing the work, you're working the overtime, and I think you'll see some of those expectations continue to rise with this next generation moving in to start filling some of these positions. But to properly space some of these things out and not have the person we may take a look at take a demotion and pay to take over way more responsibility, we wanted to make this recommendation. Again, I think yesterday was Lineman Appreciation Day, and I can't speak highly enough about their performance and the performance of our crew, and so I can answer any questions you have.
Any comments or?
My comment would be that, I think, in talking with Jared, that, he really appreciates our support for the rest of his department and staff. And by keeping those guys here in the situation we were in, he's glad he didn't have brand new guys he was trying to train and try to get our power back as well. So, he was thankful for our support and basically made the point that he couldn't have done it without the guys that had some experience.
And I don't think it's exactly comparable, but if you're watching the news, if you saw what happened down in a similarly sized program in Falls City, every single one of their linemen walked on them. So, again, not because of wages or something specific, probably more managerial one, but that's out in the news and the paper, and it's like, that can be a crippling situation for a municipality to try and overcome when you're not keeping up with things and providing what the market requires to try and have good, if you want good people, you gotta go get good people. So, and we got good ones.
Yes, Rich?
I have a quick question about how frequently we review these positions similar to this one.
Every year.
Every year, okay,
I-
so,
We do an internal comparability adjustment every year, and every 5 years we hire it out.
okay, thank you, that's helpful.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Alright, an ordinance to provide for annual classification of officers and employees of the city of Seward, Nebraska, to create a group exercise instructor position, to provide for longevity pay and payment of part-time employees, to provide for a date such classification and pay ranges of compensation shall become effective, to provide for publication in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and designated as ordinance number 2025-11, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with that short rule.
Second.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
This is ordinance number 2025-11. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
I so move. Second.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2025-11 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
This is our only ordinance this evening, so only one final motion to make the ordinance a part of the permanent record.
So moved.
Second.
Your motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 4, consideration of a resolution to designate city items as surplus. Derek?
So we just wrapped up our most recent sale a few days ago on Friday, 11th. We got rid of some bikes and some other things there. So we're doing a little bit more spring cleaning. These are 7 items that were brought up to my attention that we needed to get rid of.
I'm really
So-
worried about this playground equipment, cause it felt very nostalgic when I saw it.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we had somebody reach out to us and say, hey, you looking to get rid of it? So it really wasn't on our radar. So we're like, hey, let's put it on there. If someone wants it, you know, we'll put it out there and
It's
see.
gonna
what
have like a
happens we get.
bidding war, what's gonna happen?
Well, unfortunately, it's not like Purple Wave where you bid back and forth. It's kind of you put in your best bid on bid opening time. So maybe you win it for $2, maybe you win it for $100, whatever. So we have 3 snow blowers. They haven't been started up for a few years, but everything says that they work or should work. We have the sort of playground equipment, as you said. We have a pole trailer from 1971, so it's a big pile of rust and out there, but I think you could probably shine it up and use it for something. We have a couple items from the police department, a wooden board cabinet, and then a clear plexiglass sheet. So we'll see what we get on all these things. I'm thinking, I think I put it on the brochure, that it's gonna be on Cinco de Mayo, so it's a Cinco de Mayo sale. So maybe we'll put some fun social media stuff out there and see what we get on the 5th. Call it good.
As is no warranty. You cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about if the snowblower works or not. We're not saying anything. Good luck is what we say. Good luck with that. Any questions or comments from the council? Alright, that's when they introduce the resolution. Introduce the resolution? Alright. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2025-7. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
Second.
A motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please fill the votes.
Voting in favor of Francis Cow, Kaler, Tanya, Coulter, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, item 5, discuss future amendment to City Code 410-44.8 regarding Board of Adjustment. Greg?
Yeah, we got all excited about this one, and we talked to the mayor about it, and we were gonna have an ordinance drafted, and I drafted that ordinance, and then Tim was nice enough to remind me, hey, if it's a zoning thing, we need a public hearing, and we need to take it to planning and zoning as well. What this is a bill that I worked on with Jonathan, actually. It also includes our change to LB 840. It's kind of a Christmas tree bill for urban affairs, but what it was, because it's got kind of a bunch of weird stuff in it. LB 840 along with the Board of Adjustments, all in one bill. And it came out like that. It wasn't like they did anything in committee to make it all weird. It really was introduced this way. But it was approved and signed by the governor back on, I believe, March 17th, potentially. Yep, approved by the governor on St. Patrick's Day. But it includes the ability, and this was brought up by UTAN, that they're having trouble seating their Board of Adjustments, and it continues to be a committee that they struggle with. One, because very often it never meets. It only meets when it's called. It doesn't have regular meetings of any sort. And so I think when I first got here, we had our first Board of Adjustment meeting, and it was the first one in 5 years. So one of the hard things is trying to get your board spun up and educated on what is actually a very specific responsibility, which is essentially when a decision is made by the zoning administrator, which in our case is Tim, and you don't agree with that, you can apply for what's called a variance. A variance is a state statute specifically defined item to get a change or to get a reprieve from a specific zoning or specific zoning ordinances. How you evaluate that and everything that goes into it is all laid out. It's laid out in our city code, which exactly matches state statute. We do not have the ability to like swerve from that and be like, well, we think a variance needs to be this. It is all essentially taken care of for us and what we can do. We've had a few of these in the past. Some have been, I won't say contentious, but they're deep dives where we've had to meet multiple times on the same one. Kelly's had to come to pretty much all of them because you almost always need legal advice on how to analyze these situations or to kind of work your way through them. We have 2 pending ones that are going to meet on April 30th to review. And the other thing we struggle with is since it's so out of the blue and you have a statutory amount of time you need to review them and after you receive them, it's been a struggle. And so what we wanted to come to you after UTAN experienced the same thing is they said, can we just change the state law and our city councils can do this work? You guys are used to looking at zoning rules and making decisions about them and being familiar with them and voting on them. And so the legislature approved that a city council can essentially say, yeah, don't worry, we'll take it. And we'll stop having Board of Adjustments be its own thing, which can sit. I think we talked to Grand Island once and they said like 8 years or something like that, they hadn't had one. I mean, some of these are really, really long. And again, you could appoint somebody and they could be on the board and off the board and have never done anything ever. Never even got together. And so we just felt like a city council potentially would be more adept at working through that process. You're familiar with Kelly already, so it's not like it's a new face that walks in and you're like, I don't know who this guy is. And then you can sit, and it would only be you 8 if we do this. They didn't say you 8 plus the mayor would sit as the city council. And so that would be the process. We can't approve this until approximately July 1st anyway, but we thought since the bill was passed, kind of get your feeling first. And if you're like, nope, we don't want to deal with it, then we won't go draft an ordinance and go through all the rigmarole of public hearing and take it to planning and zoning and everything else. If you're like, no, I think we should at least consider this may be beneficial. And I know Tim's here, so he can speak to our function of trying to get that to go and everything else, and it's getting harder and harder. I will tell you, I think the city of Seward probably has the most boards and commissions of any first-class city there is. I would be willing to take the bet up. Not that I gamble, but there's a lot. So one of the things is we see the same familiar faces on everything, and you guys are all familiar with the different boards and groups that we have throughout our committee, whether that's church boards, Kiwanis and Rotary, and the Optimists that went away and everything else. The number of volunteers and people willing to volunteer their time is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And so we struggle to find appointments and to get people to want to do this stuff. Usually we're begging them to stay on until we can find 2 feet and a heartbeat to replace them.
And I promised some of these members that were friends of mine, I begged them to do this, and I assured them this board's never met. And then Greg gets here, and then they're meeting like every other month. So they're all mad at me right now. So sooner we can get rid of this, the better.
Well, the other one is, and me and Tim and Kelly have talked about this before. It's rare air, actually, under the way the code's written, that you're going to find a variance that meets your muster. We've seen one that came in where we're like, yeah, that kind of meets the example we always use, which is like, usually what you're looking for is you're not doing it because you're just like, by golly, I want to do it. I should get a variance. It's not going to hurt anybody. Well, that isn't what the state statute cares about. A great example is the zoning law says your front porch and the steps or anything apportioned thereto can extend into the right of way or within 5 feet of the right of way. That's part of our zoning code. And you need to put in a handicap ramp. Well, but that's a violation. You can't do that. That would be a very logical variance. It's not for caprice, it's not for profit. It's, you have a special circumstance that nobody else shares. You can't fix it with the zoning rule change. So things like that get in there where if you walk through the criteria, it's pretty obvious. So we've had literally one that was very similar to that we kind of got to that point on. But we've had numerous other ones where we're like, yeah, you're literally just doing this because you want to make money. It's not going to work by statute. And we can't change the statute. That's not us. But we just felt that for the timing purpose, I assume what we would do is if we had a meeting on one of these, is we would try to call the meeting right before city council and use a half hour or an hour, depending on how severe the item was. And then we would just call you ahead of time, and so we'd meet on the same night. But up to you. The hard is we can't call a public meeting after you guys, because we never know when you'll be done. So that's why I said we would do it before.
Any questions or comments? I mean, this is really just a heads up, unless you felt really strongly against moving forward with this. But like Greg said, we'll have this on the agenda in the future for your consideration. Just don't want to waste a lot of time if you were adamantly against this. So with that, I don't think we need any action. If we're good, we'll just move on to the next item.
Yep.
All right. Here's the city administrator's report.
Woohoo! Oh my goodness. Construction season starting to gear back up. We're starting to get back into some of the items. You've seen some repair work done, some seeding and mulching, well, not mulching, but landscaping work getting done on finishing up some of our projects, the highway project. We did get started with the water tower, but they're moving very quickly and we've been trying to monitor them, so we may have some follow-up items on that one that we didn't anticipate. Wellness Center continues to mosey right along, just really, really well used. I think Joel noted to me the other day when he looked this up on Monday, that he has 1,500 units. These are people that are signed up through the system and can be in the building. And our original goal was 1,600 for the whole year, and we're already at 1,500. So to kind of piece out what I thought different membership levels would be and how that would break out, I thought 1,600 units. That's people that can get in the building. So we're doing really, really well. And I've heard nothing but compliments. Joel and his team will continue to work on their stuff and some policy changes and updates and roll those out for people on usage of like the weight room and the pool and things like that. But me and my kids were in the pool last night hanging out, and lifeguards were there and doing family swim and stuff. It was a good time. So going well on that one. I think they'll be continuing to work through finishing up the landscaping and then probably sodding and doing all of that here shortly. And then probably some planting after that as well for trees, shrubs, and other things. We continue to kind of work our way through the emergency response. I know Governor Pilton asked for an federal emergency declaration, so we'll kind of wait and see what's going on with that. Continuing to work with Dairy on our project and trying to get ready to get going. That seems like it's coming to its final fruition here very shortly, and so we're kind of activating them on their different things they need to get finalized, some wastewater rates, getting sure that they're understanding if they are gonna apply for TIF, stuff like that. All that's lined up properly. Working on the Civic Center, continue to have an issue with the fire marshal's office. That's in relation to the carpet on the walls in kind of the art section. So Councilmember Kaler was at the commission meeting on Monday night. And so Mark Coulterman's working through it. I think they're meeting tomorrow. So I think they'll come up with a plan. He's meeting with a higher level than our local one, Brandon. And so they'll come up with a plan and a timeline. We'll probably activate on that so we can get the Civic Center opened back up and get a ribbon cutting to be done there. Another one that's just kind of eating a lot of time because of circumstances is the 6th Street Cafe application to LB 840. So that one's going to become a mess. I'm trying to activate an emergency meeting with the LB 840 because there's some timelines going on with that one. If you're paying attention to the newspaper, you would see that there's foreclosures and some other things going on there. So, along with the passing of one of the partners, obviously. So it's just kind of getting all the plans together and seeing if there's a path forward and what their path forward is. So, just unfortunate circumstances there. That's kind of it. Like I said, we're continuing to get started with, and I talked to my team about budgets, and we'll get into that with them over the next couple of months, and then circle back to the council in the summer, start seeing what we're gonna do. Other than that, answering questions. Matt?
I read something about getting rid of the pink postcard meeting and maybe citizens will be informed earlier on in the budget process. Is that was debated at the State House? Is that?
I don't know that, I haven't seen anything at the league yet that's been finalized. So I think the purpose of that is like we talk about, I guess we would be informing them and giving them something where they could, have a little bit more involvement. Because there's no involvement at the pink postcard, as the mayor's pointed out numerous times. That you come to that meeting, it's an airing of grievances, and half the time it's not even at the city, but it gets people all riled up, and nothing's worse than getting them all riled up and having them come and telling them, yeah, everything you're riled up about, you can't do anything about. Because every meeting you should have went to be interactive with the process has already taken place.
There are some communities that have already passed their budget before that pink postcard meeting, so there's literally nothing.
Well, I think
left to do.
I think the article was kind of two-pronged. It was to try to inform the citizens the difference between how to protest their assessment, and then the other thing was when the budget process starts, how to be involved with it and how to get your input. And I just wondered if you had heard if there was anything moving on that.
I think they'll continue to take a look at it, but I haven't been
Nothing
specifically informed on it. So once we're not gonna change it one way or the other. So if it passes, we'll follow that process. And might have a few more people that show up and hang out with us during budget, which there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, I don't know how much more public we can be. We literally have all of our stuff up the week ahead. We put together a calendar that says approximately when we'll do all this. We meet 5 times in a row for every council meeting from August through September to just talk budget. They're open public meetings. They're pretty informal. We have a pretty long, especially the first few ones, we have a really long conversation and walk through the budget line by line almost, through the memo and everything else. So I don't know that there's a whole lot we'll have to do, other than we might have to secure some dates and then just hold ourselves to them, that this is it, go. But, yeah. And then you're obviously right, a lot of the other ones we see is people are mad about their assessment, but they've already missed that one as well, the timeline to challenge the assessment and where their property's assessing it, so.
And the assessor's not even at the meeting.
Right.
So it does get a little, the meeting itself, the structure gets a little clunky from the standpoint of people are all upset. A lot of the complaints were about their assessments. Well, there's nothing they can do about it at that meeting, and then the person who's, you know, the assessor isn't there either. It's not structured the best for what they're trying to accomplish. But this is, you know, you also have state senators trying to tell the locals how to do their business. It gets, you know, unless you've been on a council or been a mayor, and some of them have, sometimes there's a little disconnect between how they think this works and how it actually works.
I mean, you were there last year, I believe, weren't
Yeah,
you?
I've been
At
doing,
the county one,
yeah,
and I think there were 2 comments entirely for the entire public
right.
after we presented, and I would argue that one of them wasn't like a critique or something that would be beneficial, in the sense of like, hey, I think you guys are spending too much money, or here's, you know, did you look at this, or how does that affect the number you posted up there, or why is this going up? One of them wasn't any of those things.
And I think Sherry did a great job of moving things along. You know, I think when, the county commissioner Culver the year before and stuff, that was really unfair. So she stepped up, you know, and got it done. But it's just a painful process. And if you really wanna participate in with your input into city budget, why not, you know, I encourage constituents that ask me about it, why not bring up ideas in October, November, December, work with city administration and council and department heads. And if you really do have a great idea on, you know, for budget, bring it up early.
All our budgets are posted, all of our budgets are also on the state website. All your emails are available, they can get a hold of you and say, hey, I think this spending item is too high, or I think you guys need to spend more here, or I think we need a new park there, or replace this, or, you know, give the mayor a raise, give the mayor nothing, take money away, whatever, you know, but it's more down to, like, the engagement level, I think, is the problem. It's just people aren't engaging.
Mhm.
They can sit and rant and rave on community chat, but they don't wanna shoot a quick email to you guys, or they don't wanna just come down here and just be a part of it and have a conversation.
And as you all know, being on the council, I mean, the devil's in the details. You get generic statements on cuts. You know, we get specific comments on how to spend more money. You know, it's like, oh, we want this item added, but we don't have, well, I want this item cut. And so that's sort of the tug of war of the comments that I do get occasionally. It's the spending gets more specific than the cutting, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, and so, but that's just the nature of the beast. Any other questions or comments for Greg? I take a motion to
I move to
accept.
accept the report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Schoolterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Thank you. Any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan, welcome. What's going on in
Thank you,
Seward?
Mayor. Forgot my cell phone, so I have my laptop. I first of all just want to say we appreciate the City of Seward's support of our annual cleanup day. I want to apologize as well. It didn't quite go as planned. We were full, and I will say we were beyond full of our actual hazardous waste pickup. By 9:40 a.m., the event was supposed to go to noon. So, what was different this year is that we were asked to accept ag waste, and it was supposed to be like household levels of ag waste. It was much more than that. And so, lesson learned there, we had cars out to Ash Street at 7 a.m., and at 9:40 it was still to Ash Street.
What
full
is,
of people.
what is ag waste specifically?
That's a great question, like pesticide-related things. So more
Roundup,
Right.
herbicide. yeah.
exactly.
Stuff that you would use in your yard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, but we had people cleaning out barns.
Barns.
That was our issue.
That's why
So-
my dad's painting get dropped off.
Yep, so apologies that we weren't able to get as many people, and I know a lot of people were frustrated. Talked with Upper Big Blue NRD, who gave some of the grant for the ag waste. We're gonna try to have a separate ag waste cleanup day. So that's part of the strategy. Also, we'll have to put pretty serious limits as we would move on this forward. I can tell you, myself and another chamber staff member were there till almost 4 p.m. just cleaning up the stuff we had with the professional waste crew. So it was a significant amount of stuff. I don't want to do that again if possible.
Is there, and maybe this is a question for the partnership with the county, I know you had an issue with tires as a example. There seems to be a really big issue out there, like, is there something
Yep.
bigger that can happen, like, are there grants we should be looking for?
We just approved a match with the county, 15,000, county's gonna match 15,000, so that's coming, so get ready, it's gonna be big.
Yeah, for the tires you're talking about,
Yes.
Councilmember.
When he
Yes.
says we, he means the solid waste agency,
I knew
not
what he
the
meant.
city of Seward.
I knew what he
Correct.
meant,
Sorry.
I read between the lines on that
Yeah.
one, but thank you for the clarification
noting.
for the record.
And also, they supported him, or this, with $2,000 as well.
Yes, and we sincerely appreciate that. So I think we've learned from like the tire cleanup that we need to put some limits. And I think we're gonna have to do the exact same thing for this. Again, we've never done ag waste, and so we're lessons learned. So apologies for constituents that were impacted. I'm not happy to, I will take phone calls, if people would like to provide feedback on that.
But careful on that, because the county went through this already once.
Right,
Don't shrink it, increase it.
sure. Yeah, so I
Because
agree.
that tells you there's an issue, and.
Like a backlog.
There you go. And it don't decrease, increase. And then if you need extra funds, come to the waste, and we already said we would support it.
Great point, Councilmember, and I agree. I think it's a follow-up with Four Corners. Again, we've been doing this hazardous waste cleanup every other year for a very, very long time. Again, ag waste was that new component, so lessons learned there. We will get better, and I appreciate that feedback.
Because what we're wanting to get rid of, the objective is so you're not seeing in the ditches and everywhere else like
Totally
tires.
agree. Yep, and we appreciated the intent. We tried to express that right, but people are frustrated because they had spent
Correct.
time and effort, and so.
I just went to fell offers, no problem.
Yes, agreed. Okay, let's see, a few other quick notes. So, semifinals for the Concordia Catalyst competition are tonight, finals on April 29th. For the business plan pitch competition, Wednesday, April 16th, that's tomorrow. We have 3 ribbon cuttings and a groundbreaking, celebrating Pasta Barn, our friends in Milford for the Timber Creek subdivision phase 2, the Seward County Digital Empowerment Center, and Val Hannes for her real estate business. Thursday next week, April 24th, will be the annual Business Anniversaries Luncheon, celebrate local businesses and organizations in Seward County with 5-year increment anniversaries. Everything from 5 to 150 years and everything in between, and you're welcome to join us for that. Seward County Gives Week, April 26th through May 1st. We look forward to supporting many worthy charitable causes during this upcoming week of giving. Thursday, May 15th will be the Chamber's 125th anniversary celebration in the Seward Civic Center, pending fire marshal approval for us to have that event. Monday, May 19th will be the quarterly Chamber Board meeting. And then also, just to put on your radars, Wednesday, May 28th will be the Seward 4th of July Committee kickoff event with a hot dog feed. So we'd love to have you at those upcoming events. With that, thanks, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Next, we have a strategy session.
Not needed, correct, Kelly?
Correct.
Just joking.
Dissolved.
Gotcha. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion and a second to best your, well,
Go to Scott O'Taylor, Tanya.
Sleeping over there.
Try some work in 8-0.
have a good night.